What's going on, Rippaverse and Rippa fam? Andy Andrew here, and we are back with another action-packed, thrill-packed, knowledge-filled episode of Ctrl+Z, our artist podcast with the most talented artists in the business. Our art director, Kanan White, our lead illustrator, Igor, and our concept artist, Marcos. We got a fun show planned for you guys. We got some great pieces to show off to you guys, and a really great fan piece that was sent in to us because, as you all may or may not remember, hopefully you remember, it's only been a month, we do have you guys invited now into joining the gentlemen for their prompt pieces each month. So this month was Zalen versus. So Zalen fighting anyone in the Rippaverse. Note, in the Rippaverse specifically.
Right.
A lot of y'all forgot about that bit. And I saw a lot of really cool pieces that I'm like, that's awesome. The Predator is not in the Rippaverse.
Right.
Neither are the Xenomorphs or anybody else out there that is part of another IP. So first off, y'all should listen. Secondly, great work on all those pieces because they did look really good. So unfortunately, they did not qualify by way of not adhering to the prompt. However, thank you so much for the efforts. Thank you so much for the quality and the time that you put into those pieces. In the future, please remember to follow the instructions carefully, as we are making this a Rippaverse-centric and focused podcast. So throwing in characters from other IPs isn't exactly part of the equation here. But great work to those of you who did submit those pieces. Thank you, I will say, for submitting them to my email this time, as I requested. I appreciated that. That way I had them all in one spot. And I was like, oh, well, that's cool. Well, that's cool. That's cool. So good job on that. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for your enthusiasm as always. But we can't wait to show off the fan piece that made the cut this month because it's really exciting. It's really, really good. Every single one of us was like, wow, okay, so somebody threw the gloves off and said, no, you know what, I'm going 9,000% on this. So that'll be fun. Can't wait for you guys to see that. Can't wait for you guys to see the gentleman's pieces here, which we will get right into. And then we will chat about what our discussion topic is for this month, which is a pretty simple one. It's not super in-depth, but it could be a fun one. And that's just discussing character archetypes. What are your favorite types of characters, right? Do you like your brutal street level vigilante guys, like your horsemen? Do you guys like your flying Mack trucks, right? Your Brian Solaris, your Superman, and all of that. Do you like, there's a zillion different archetypes, and just about every character in comics, especially in superhero comics, can fall into one of those. And those are fun to discuss, fun to chat about, and everybody's got a favorite. So we'll talk about that after we get through these awesome pieces, which we will be starting with our lead illustrators, Igor's. So you are up. You're up to the plate.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So I had a few ideas for this, but I ended up going with a new character from Eisen 3 that I really, really love the design. I even messaged Marcos about it because I really like the some of the complexities and the idea behind it and the tales and everything. I think it all worked together really well. So I was trying to go for something like there is this theory called fly swatting, where like a character is just so overpowered compared to the other one, and then like the fight is all about giving like this cathartic feeling of like, oh, that character is like so cool. So I wanted to kind of like portray that in like the massiveness of Lepredo or Lepredo. I don't know how you say his name.
Got it right the second time.
Yeah, but I wanted to make him like kind of massive and exaggerated compared to Zalen, but then I ended up making Zalen a little too like he's more buff. But anyway, so I wanted to show that he's like stopping him with like just a single act and then whatever follows is not good for Lepredo, right? So Lepredo. But yeah, I love drawing monsters, so I thought about actually drawing children, but
okay.
I already did a version of that scene with Ison between the two of them, and I didn't.
That was a year
two
piece
piece
of yours too, and it's still like one of your best. Like it was. Really
I really liked that one because I had time to paint and everything like that. I had some dramatic lights, background, and everything. But for this one, like we don't have enough. No, not enough time. No, we don't have as much time, so I couldn't like really add everything. And then there is the format, so you have to be aware of that. Like as the other guys you're gonna see on their pieces, drawing a fight scene on a vertical panel like that requires some skill. Requires some thought at least, if not skill. So there I'm just rendering like Zalen, tried some different expressions for him to show him as a calm, collected character, which he is in some cases. If guys read, like for the ones that got Zalen already, like he goes through like a lot of emotions through that comic. So I think this would be an easy fight for him, even though like the character, the enemy is massive. He has shown like strength, feats of strength that go way beyond a single punch.
Yes, he did.
Yes.
I don't think there's much of a question of who's the current strongest in the Rippaverse.
Zalen is a brick house.
But like Yaira can put up a fight, but that's from what we got so far. That's about it, right? But I really like drawing monsters, like I said before 1,000 times. So it was an opportunity to add some of the nitty gritty details to Lepredo, which I think Cliff does a lot of things really well with the character. He shows his size and everything. But I wanted to portray
scale.
The scale mainly. Like some of the panels that he's in are my favorite. Some of my favorite from Ison 3. But I think I wanted to portray him more like a monster than anything else. Like I wanted to show that like the monstrosity aspect of it. Once the pose was done, like that's the most difficult part. It was all about like just drawing, like adding texture to it, thinking about where the shadows should be in order to improve readability. Like you can see like the hand that is holding the fist has very few lines. And I tried to contrast that with the heavy shadows of the fist so that we can see both like kind of clearly once the reader has time to read it. So
I love his face, man. This is what you said. How you say Lepredo, yeah. Like the face, man. This almost looks like Caraptorin almost.
It looks like a real monster, man.
Yeah, that was my favorite part. If you couldn't tell.
I had no idea. What's with all of y'all Rippaverse artists and loving all the creepy and monster stuff? Like,
it's so much fun to draw. Man.
Igor, the one that helped me draw what's we got Magnus Numite, the creature thing. So I saw his. I was like, oh,
yeah, you can do some stuff with it, right? Like, that's what I love about comics. We talked about like the concept art in the previous episode and how you can like interpret it your own way. I feel like Joe does that really well. Like if you read some of his Hulk run, like there's some ludicrous panels in Immortal Hulk about like the body changes that go through. So he got to flex that muscle of his a little bit, like where
I had never seen Hulk change like that. I was like,
that was so
he
cool.
leaned into kind of like the body horror of it.
It was
crazy. Book, and that's why people were reading it.
Yeah, and I like that idea of like getting a concept. I got concepts from Marcus, and I'm like, the monstrous aspect of things is like I could push this or that. Like No Might is the first example that comes to mind because I got to draw him like a couple of times and it was super fun to do. But this character as well, like Chadron, I think actually because Cliff draws them massive, but he portrays them as more humanoid than anything, even Lepredo, because it's like kind of the superhero story fits the Ison arc and everything. But I think like Kanan did a great job with Chadron that really inspired me for the it's actually like in the background, but the Ison 4, the one that inspired, the one that inspired the statue. There is the shadow behind of the face, and I was like, that face is a good monster.
Thank you.
Like the nose and everything, like it looks kind of off from an actual
skull.
like, exactly, like someone that's not like kind of malformed or something like that. And I really wanted to push that into the way that I drew Chadron, which is like my reference for it from now on. Is like the face kind of elongated and weird. I like that. I like those aspects of things. I think that's where you have a chance to shine as an artist, like the stuff that you like doing, like we were talking about the last time. But yeah, some of the stuff I could improve, like I said, Zalen mainly, like I clearly paid more attention to the monster than the actual main character of the team.
You know, I mean, it almost like even though you say like you I know you mentioned the things you wanted to change in his size and whatnot, but I think it flows. Like it's almost like it doesn't. I feel like probably even like a little more would actually probably take away from kind of the overall, because everything is almost like it's a cohesive one image, even though it's two people. It flows together really well. Like no one piece dominates, even though Lapreto's face is huge. The way that you put it in the background and change the tone, making him a little gray, gray tone, it works good. I mean, but Zalen isn't as defined as he probably like I would do it, but it fits. Like it almost reminds me of All Might, which is really cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. I haven't thought about that. Like even the hair, like the position of the hair.
Like I love the energy of his claw too, man. Like, cause you could tell it's almost like you can tell he's about to throw a combo. Of course, he blocked the first one, but then the other claw is coming right behind.
I had a fist before, but I was like, dude has nails. Why would
he's got claws? Make use of them. Right?
The first punch didn't work. Why would he try again?
I can't bludgeon him. I'll maim him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I praised Marcos a ton before, but I really like the character and like a ton of the characters that he designed. That this one, kind of like from out of Ison 3, I wanted to see more of him. Like we saw a bunch of him in the comic, but I really wanted to see more because I think like there's always potential for like monstrous characters. I feel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's cool because that just, and this will lead into eventually our discussion topic, but that's that kind of like monster villain character archetype, right? You got the Lizard, right, over at Marvel, or you got Killer Croc, right, at DC. So like now we've got Lapreto, but he's his own take on it, right? And he's wholly unique from the other two, but still can be put into this. You can file that under the monster villain, right? And Lapreto is such a good design, such a good design,
like
and
him.
You can tell by this piece that you really enjoyed drawing him.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned the lizard and the croc, because usually that's how horror used to treat monsters. You based them on live actual like creatures that exist in our world, combining them with the human anatomy and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what for Lapreto, it was specifically the Komodo dragon.
I can tell from the design.
Yeah, it was kind of weird because the tail, and Eric didn't want him to look like too much like a dragon with the scaly skin.
Gotcha.
But he just wanted it to look like that with the elongated face and the claws and all that. And
I think
cool.
Cliff did a good job with that. Like he caught on to the reference that you put on your designs, because it's very much like a Komodo dragon. Like I'm a fictional, I'm like an animal fictional when it comes to like predators and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and the Komodo dragon is terrifying. Like I had the chance to see one in a zoo in England. And they look terrifying because they're big. They're not like you're thinking like
biceps, man.
Yeah. And they just look at you like, I could eat you. Like,
imagine what happens. Imagine what happens if one of them, fell on a nuclear,
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
nuclear devastation. Godzilla.
We don't think with Komodo dragons are venomous. Their spit is highly toxic.
You get bit by one of those, you are done.
Yeah. They're built for damage.
Twitter, yeah.
So good, man.
Yeah, I'm glad they said that, because the faces, the reference is an actual Komodo dragon, because that's what I thought would be like. I could tell from your design, but that's exactly what I could take from. And then I added the fangs, because most lizards have like the fangs, like the teeth are not as exposed. But yeah, really.
And
fun.
I like the bit that there is that strong distinction between the Komodo dragon influence in the design and like other reptiles that we see in fiction. Like, and I loved, I cracked up when I read ISON 3 for the first time, like in book form, right? Not just looking at the script. So once like Cliff's work was done on it and Sebastian's colors were on it, and reading the line where, for those of you, spoiler alert, who haven't read ISON 3 yet, it's already been out in the wild. So I'm not worried about it, and you shouldn't cry about it. I'm so nice. When a certain very large mercenary refers to him as like as a crocodile, and Laprida like takes offense at it. It's like, we're talking about a crocodile, right? Like, and I looked at that in the script and like, I see what you did there. I was like, I see you. Don't get it twisted. I know it's not a crocodile. But yeah, that was good. And man, yeah, it really comes through. That was something that Cliff did a really good job as well of making him look a lot more like Komodo dragon than like a standard lizard or other reptile. Because that distinction is important. That distinction is part of the design and what sets him apart from some of those other characters of the same archetype.
They're kind of like the pit bull of the lizard world.
Stocky,
stout, big head, wide neck, the whole nine. They walk slow.
Thing.
It made in red too, so it's like very, very distinct. It's a red giant lizard, almost looks like a dragon.
Yep.
That was another thing I really appreciated, because just about every single other character that falls under that archetype is some shade of green. I mean, sometimes you'll see I've seen Killer Croc be like a grayish green. But for the most part, it's still some shade of green, right? Yeah. And so it was a really great design choice. And Marcos, I don't know if that was an Eric request or if that was just a design choice that you made, but that was a good choice to make him more of that reddish color. Okay.
I think it was Eric. I'm not I don't remember much about that one, but I know it was Eric. He really wanted it. There was actually Laprida looked pretty different at the start. He didn't actually look the same from the start, including with the clothing. He didn't actually have clothes first.
I think the tails as well, right? Like you mentioned it to me, changing the amount of tails.
I like to do tails.
He didn't have the broken sleeves either. Nothing. And later, just Eric asked for that.
Okay. Well, there you go, guys. You just got a little bit of the inside scoop on the design of Laprida. Not going to find that anywhere else. That's why you got to be here every month.
Lore drops.
Right? Lore drops. ND Andrew approved lore drops,
there you go.
By the way. Not going to get too many of those. All right, let's pull up Mr. White's.
So, I didn't. You won't see the actual roughed out, because I actually sort of had this concept for a fan art, but it was never. I never got a chance to like work on it like I wanted to. But doing the Zalen verses. That's what I was joking in the chat, but I still kind of meant it. It's like Zalen versus impending doom. So like the whole thing with this piece is he is trying to kind of like separate the ship, like almost like if you can say like a escape pod kind of thing, away from the main hull before it impacts into the city. And so that's why he's like straining so hard, and I really wanted to like say really capture like the grit of him pushing And we know how strong Zalen is. Those who have read the book, the book, he's a powerhouse. But there's moments where he still has to exert a lot of energy. And you think about separating something that's basically built out of solid steel or whatever alien, metal it could be. He has to work at it. So you see the grimace in his face. And he's just like, and as it develops, you'll actually start to see kind of like the impact of his feet crushing into the metal that he's pushing against. Almost like you can tell he's like really trying to separate this thing, and at the top
digging his heels in.
Yeah, and his palms as well. It's like, so you'll see like wires and stuff, but it hasn't come in yet because it's rendering. But my render style takes
a minute,
a little bit.
That's why it's beautiful, though. That is why it's.
I go through so many iterations. I'll render something like nope, and then start all over. It's like man, that's not what I'm looking for. It's funny. I actually started this in Clip Studio, but some driver issues I've been running into some issues with my computer, and so it's been lagging like really bad. My UEM. So I was like, just let me do it on my, the iPad, and it just flows better. I do like drawing in Procreate better, just because the tools just feel more natural. But anyway, yeah. So I wanted to make sure that if we haven't gotten to it, but made sure the city wasn't too earthly. There's things that look like Earth on it, but as we know, he traverses space, so which is not anywhere close to our solar system. But there are other cities, I'm sure, alien races and species, and Terrans, if you want to call them humanoid beings, and all that stuff. So the city, you'll see eventually it'll have elements that look like skyscrapers, but then you'll see some other alien buildings also that kind of set it apart from feeling. It's enough to feel familiar, but then it's enough to realize you're not on Earth. So
yeah, and that's an important element to have, because even when you're dealing with stuff that's leaning into the super fantastical, that has nothing to do with anything on Earth, you still have to find a connecting point for people to be able to latch onto it and relate to it. That's why a lot of alien characters still look humanoid, right? That's why you'll see some sort of design similarities in how cities are formed, in how highways are done, and how vehicles are done. Even if they're flying vehicles, there'll be something in there. You can probably point to something in the real world and be like, there's probably a little bit of this in that thing's design DNA.
Yep. Because I think having something familiar, man, that people can spot keeps them engaged, so that they'll completely check out like, okay, this is completely alien, unless it's meant to do that. But there's still, even in the there's a scene in Zalen where it's an alien world, but and they're alien creatures, but the way they interact is very humanoid. You got some of the aliens holding children and spears and things like that, in the world that they're around. It's like a desert universe, so it's enough to be familiar, but then you look up and it's like 3 moons. So it's like, okay, we were obviously not on Earth. But so, but yeah, man, like I just wanted to show the impact, man. Him trying to hold it down, man, and saving the day like he always does. That's what Zalen tries to do. And
it's such a good cover, man. That's like ready to be colored, and then just slap the Zalen logo on top.
Or it could be like inside cover, even, right?
Yeah.
Every single monthly piece Kanan does could be a cover. That's
well, I appreciate it, guys, man. These really are fun, man. I enjoy doing these, man. Even if it be like the twilight hour, I get mine in. But,
but I mean, sometimes it be like that.
It's me refreshing the OneDrive page at 3 in the morning as Kanan's in there.
But yeah,
like what you did with the cape.
Thank you.
With the cape,
yeah.
I've learned, man, and just I think I would say, really honestly, man, kind of being a product of the 90s, but then also it wasn't until I think I started looking at like Alex Ross art that I understood that the cape is as much a character as the character themselves. And gone are the days of the Thor cape where it's just up and out and it's just like okay, cool. But when you see, like, I think it was I want to say it was either Dan Mora or probably George Jimenez.
Yeah.
Who did?
That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, he did this picture of Superman, and you guys probably remember he's walking through a wall, and he has the cape over his back and up on one side, and then the other one is actually draped over his pec and over his shoulder. And you really don't usually see Superman's cape like that. It's usually over his shoulder, back flapping. But when you think of it, like it still doesn't adhere to physics too, man, and it adds just as much dynamicism and story when you make the cape show stress or relaxed or just gently blowing in the wind or something like that. And you can also, with that same technique, show the type of material it is, like if it's thick, if it's thin, kind of thing. So I really try to make sure when I do capes and flowing clothing, cloaks and jackets and stuff like that, man, I really emphasize the stress of what's going on or the gentleness of what's going on through the actual fabric too. So
well, it adds not only character to the character themselves, but it also adds character to that facet of the character. So to the cape, right? Whether they're doing it to Superman's cape or they're doing it to Brian's, whether they're doing it to Zalen's. That's an important thing, and that adds layers to the character's design overall. This could be applied to anything. So maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's a character's hair specifically, like their hair when they're doing something is supposed to be super wild, right? Or whatever, or any other facet of a character that is specific to that character, like adding characterization to that, adding energy and dynamicism to that, just enhances the overall design and what's happening on the page. And so when artists do that with capes for characters that have capes, it's incredibly important because that's one of those things that stands out from a character's design, right? It's like most characters.
Strange.
Most characters these days don't have
Spawn,
capes. Exactly. Spawn is a great example with his cape because his cape's freaking wild and ridiculous, right?
Exactly.
It's meant to be that way.
It's alive. It's
it's supposed to be that way, right?
That's
and in terms of design, it's very smart as well, like the way that Kanan did it, because there were like 1,000 ways. Every artist is gonna draw that cape differently in that scenario. Even if you give like just everything ready, just draw the cape, you're gonna get 1,000 different like formats and covering background in a different way. Like a lot of artists would cover more of the background with the cape, right? And I thought the idea of like making it like a thin line across the kind of thin, right? Like not entirely thin, but like it's stretched out across the thing, like on the horizontal, gives like it's just a smart design choice. Like it gives the reader something to look at, and that sense breaks kind of like the horizon line.
I got you.
Really smart.
It kind of adds balance to the piece with all the black.
I love
if you covered more if you covered more with the cape, it would be more black because you would probably paint it black. So it would be
it would come kind of heavy.
But my favorite part about this piece is the foreground element, to be honest, because before you added it, it was like I was looking at it and something was happening, like Zalen was being amazing and stuff like that. But then you added the foreground elements, like the cables and the cross cables on top and that weird shape and the top right hand corner. And then I'm in the scene now. Like I'm being crushed by this if he doesn't like do his job. Like it's like we're looking at it like by adding those elements. So this is a pretty good lesson in framing and adding like elements to properly compose your scene, because you've composed it perfectly with that. Like the change is dramatic. If you go to the video, at the moment you start adding that, the feeling is different. Like before, I was just looking at it, And
Yeah.
then, like, if you go back a little bit, like we're looking at something that Zalen's doing, right? Like this.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it. I'm amazed and everything. But then you add that, I'm there. Like I'm between.
All of a sudden,
like the debris.
He's saving you.
Yeah, he's saving me.
Exactly. That's one of like images like this, man. I always, when I always see it moving in my head. So I always try to like capture that moment of like where it actually feels like you took a snapshot of somebody, whether it be falling or tearing up something. So it feels like it's happening. You know what I mean? Like it feels like it's moving. Like the cape, it feels, you can feel the energy and the, and then the ground. You can hear the, all that stuff.
Yeah,
guys do. So, but I really wanted to show like the beam you mentioned, Igor. Like it's snapping on, like you could tell he bent it off. Like it wasn't like an easy like detachment. Like he actually had to tear that thing away from its frame. And so you can see how close the city is, so he doesn't have much time.
Love it. Great piece, brother.
Thank you guys.
Super detailed. All right, the last one.
Kenan always puts our pieces, Igor, to like rest with all those details.
Yeah, man.
Whatever, man.
Yeah. I'm used to it by now. I don't even compare myself to him anymore. Like,
you should anyway, dude. I mean, y'all do things, man, that I'm like, man. The little intricate details, and sometimes less is best.
Yeah, I'm trying to think that. That's my excuse now. Less is best. Kenan's doing too much.
Yeah, because mine and Igor's about to see where both of ours don't really have a background.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but I think yours work. But we're gonna see that. Like, I don't want to give it spoilers.
Yeah, we're gonna see right now. We're gonna see right now. This one. I love this piece. Actually, I really, really love this piece. I will reiterate at some point exactly what I told Marcos when I was talking about this piece with him.
Ooh.
So we've got.
I actually like half of it. I like the Zalen part, not really much the Yair part.
I don't know. I'm digging those thighs.
I don't know
what
right now. So
I'm just. Yair's got legs for days in this piece.
Reminds me of.
Yeah.
It reminds me of. Well, I'll tell you after. I'll tell you after.
There's you got 10 minutes on this time left, so you got decent time to talk.
Oh, thank you for reminding me. Here, let's speed that up a bit here.
It's funny. You could put it like a 1.5 or something. It's
1.8 might not be a bad idea.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think
there we go.
It's funny because
that's kind of cool.
Did you do? Yeah, I wanted it to be crossed, but I thought it would maybe be too vertical. Decided to spread one out a little bit. It's funny because I didn't start with this idea. I wanted to do Zalen versus himself, kind of like an ego thing, where he was like flexing against the mirror or something.
Yes.
But I figured, you know what? All the previous pieces so far have been more, less actiony, more passive and stuff. So I thought maybe just focus on something with an actual fight, a little bit of action. So I switched up for this. And for this, I don't know if you can tell, it's an artist thing. I wanted to do this sort of loop. I can make it look like it's an 8. The whole the format of the I don't think format's the correct term. The like the motion that they're going through. You can tell like Zalen's doing this little twist.
Oh, looks like an infinity
doing
symbol.
the opposite.
Yeah.
I wanted to do that type of. I wanted it to have that type of feeling because the vertical format made it kind of like Igor said. It makes it kind of hard to do action scenes.
Yeah,
because you're kind of limited. Usually, when I do action scenes, we do it more horizontally for the epic nature of it. But this idea came to mind, and it was like dead set from the moment I laid it out. I was like, okay, this has to be it. So I wanted to do something with the only character in mind that I think Igor mentioned earlier that could probably put up a fight with Zalen, which would be Yair.
yeah.
and I want to just showcase the fact that Zalen is actually very. I think Andrew hammered this like 3 times while designing this piece. Like, Yara has no chance. It's Zalen.
She is the one with the best chance of the characters that we've had up till now. And even she would still get bent over Zalen's knee, spanked, and she'd ask for more.
Someone brought that through.
It's a little personal there, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I got a little specific there.
I'm just saying.
Hey, you know.
Okay.
I mean, you know.
Yeah. So it's whatever floats your boat.
Honestly, it works. I wanted to make it basically so that Yara is struggling. So you can see it kind of in her face a little bit. She's just screaming and like trying to, trying to combat this monster of a man. But in the contrasting with Zalen, who's like smiling, he's chilling, about to like smash her down with a one fist. I wanted to give it that sort of like capture that moment right before he's about to win, because she's like doing all she can. The ice arm, she's got another fist charge up with the ice, which I wanted to add the ice effect a little bit just to make the loop more round at the bottom.
And I think it works. I think that worked really well.
I love the ice blade, dude. We've yet to see her do anything like that. That's pretty crazy.
I think she just did it once in Yaira 1.
Okay. Yeah.
Versus Magus Numite.
Yep.
I like doing that type of thing.
I only read that book 85 times while I was at it. So.
And with the loop at the ice at the bottom, I really didn't know what to do with Zalen to contrast it on the top, because he doesn't really have like a laser beam or something like from his fist.
Thank God,
mimicking. Yeah. So I decided to do that type of motion with him on his cape. Like the cape was making the loop for him.
Gotcha.
Whereas at the bottom we have Yaris with the ice and the hair.
He also kind of did it with the action lines with his fist.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
As to kind of supplement it.
Without that, like I can read this perfectly as like an infinite number, like infinite symbol going around. The composition.
Yeah, I added that at the end. Yeah, I wanted to add the little lines for the motion, kind of like to visualize the inertia.
Yeah.
How would you say it?
Inertia.
That is what he said in the comments. It was inertia. So I was like, I can't really add something there, so I just made it comic book lines basically for the motion.
Yeah,
it works.
I didn't know what to do for background. I wanted to do a swirl. You can see here some sort of motion to go with it, but I didn't actually end up working. So I just had to just leave it.
I actually wouldn't have been mad with the swirl. I kind of liked it. I don't know how you guys feel, but I kind of liked the swirl as well. I think it still looks fantastic without it, but the swirl was kind of a cool thing.
I like that. Yeah.
Like softer. Yeah. I guess you took it.
It just for me, it looked kind of uneven, so I just left it out.
Okay.
That was actually cool. The softer swirl, I think it was.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
This one right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
like
cool.
That. Or like gives vignettes or something like that.
Yeah, a little bit of a vignette.
What this reminds me of, and I was going to say it earlier, Marcos. It reminds me of I don't know if you guys, I know you do, Andrew, because you're a hardcore fan, like more hardcore than I thought you were. But at the end of Godzilla, when they showed the wall and it showed King Kong going against Godzilla, it was that painting, and everybody was like, it was like a prophecy of what was to happen.
Yeah.
This kind of reminds me of like a painting that somebody may have done like many years ago of like, this is what's
prophecy.
Like inevitable almost. Like it feels like that vibe, like on a Greek wall or something like that. And you see this drawing of, these two
Sailor's gonna beat Yara.
Yeah, it's just like
this is when the prophecy has said.
Right. It's like the confrontation is about to happen kind of vibe. So I love it. I love it. It reminds me of almost like the that and the what was it? Man versus when they man and God finger touch.
Oh yeah.
Michelangelo painting.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of that.
Which I'm gonna bring back. Yeah, I'm gonna bring back Michelangelo. That's how you say it. Yeah.
Michelangelo.
Yeah. I'm gonna bring it back when we see the fan art piece, actually, because I think there is some relation there, which is funny. But it reminded me, Kanan's gonna know this, Marcos is too young to know this, but the Soul River games. They had on the wall.
Legacy of
Hey,
I know of them. What you mean?
I like to tease you that you're too young.
I haven't played them, but I know them.
Yeah, the second game has a ton of what Kanan's referring to,
Yep.
like paintings that tell stories, and there's
Yeah.
always like a combat between two characters, and this is like straight out of that for me.
Yeah.
Like the painting, because I was gonna mention this is like a tattoo for me. It's
It
ready
does.
to,
Yeah,
like,
it looks like that
yeah,
too.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah. So because it has
It's a
the
tattoo
shape,
for
the
somebody that
language.
has just the right arm shape. So right,
Yeah.
you get it on the delt, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then,
Shoulder, yeah.
then you've got it right
Yeah.
here on the bicep, right? So you got
because
Zalen
the
and then
shapes are
Yaira.
there, like you read it like pretty well. I like when you moved Yara a little bit. I was looking at it and I was like, yeah, because at the beginning we see the final piece. Then during the layout, I thought that Yara was too
Yeah.
close to Zalen's arm, like it was creating kind of a tangent.
Mm.
And then you moved her,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, this is why it doesn't look like that in the end, because you had the eye to actually move it and create some negative space between them.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
That was really smart.
Yeah,
Really
I-
good.
Yeah, I had
I
to
love this
I had
piece.
to move her a little bit lower too, because or actually I think a little bit closer to him, but because Salen's
Like
a little
this.
bit bigger,
Yeah.
so he takes a bigger portion of the. Like you can tell by the swirls here, like the bigger swirl on the top half is actually like you can tell Salen takes a lot more space than Yara, so it's kind of hard to completely
and that's hard to do because Yara's
I
a
guess
big girl.
separate it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. I mean, 6'3" ain't no slouch, you know what I mean?
Oh, not at all.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
great
yeah.
work, Marcos. Great
Thanks.
I love
piece.
this.
I think this is fantastic. This is.
I kind of realized. Oh my bad. I was
just about to say
gonna
it's
say
probably
that
my
it-
favorite piece that you've done for the show so far.
It's really good.
Oh, thanks. I was just gonna say that looking at it now kind of reminds me of Brian, his pose, Salen here.
Oh yeah, the
Right,
Oh,
for
from
the-
Alpha Core
yeah,
1,
for
yeah,
Superman.
Alpha Core.
yeah, the Superman homage
Superman
that
pose, yeah.
Joe did. Yeah,
That's true. I hadn't thought about that, but I think you've distantiated yourself, like you've moved yourself away from that a lot with the way that you compose the scene, because
Yeah.
Mhm.
which is a good thing. Like the anatomy is
Yeah.
really good, and you've made the pose your own, composed with like Yara. You've made like the piece work as a single unit, because that happens a lot. Kanan will know that, like when you see action scenes and stuff like that, sometimes it will seem like the characters are not. Sorry, someone going by. Yeah, but you make the characters not. They don't seem like they're in the same scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Mhm.
happens.
The
a ton, like,
cohesiveness.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that's present here.
where you can tell somebody's like referencing a very particular pose too
Yes.
much to where it looks out of
Yes.
place with
Yeah, and then you
everything
don't
else.
know, like everything else looks like in someplace different. Like
Yeah.
artists will do that
Yeah,
sometimes
exactly.
when, with background and stuff like that. If the character is floating or something like that.
Yep.
But yeah, this worked really well.
I-
Very good.
Like I said, I just noticed that. Let's like I wasn't really trying to reference anything. I
Yeah,
just
yeah, I
did.
can
It
tell.
turned out. If you go to the beginning, you actually see the sketch. His left arm wasn't actually like that to begin with. I had it more closed in inside of his body, like
That was actually going to be tight too. Whatever you started with.
before.
Technically,
Yeah, there. See, his arm was his left arm was like hanging
Mm.
down like that. I ended up switching it like 2 times. Same thing that happened with Yair's legs and all. It switched a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I ended up with that. I was like, well, kind of looks like Brian. I remember it from Alpha Core.
Yeah, great
But yeah,
piece, brother. Great piece.
thanks.
Yeah, man. Wow.
All right, let's check out the fan piece.
The winner,
This
by the
one.
way.
Winner.
All the guys here, like when I showed it to them, they were all universally like, "Wow!" So I guess if this was a contest, he won.
Thank God he's not taking part.
So guys, make sure I will pull up the one to to have all 3 of them showing, so you guys can vote on what your favorite was. The poll will be going up in the chat. Make sure you vote so we can determine who is this month's champion. At some point, we'll have some sort of a like overlaid belt made or something like that. I'm not quite sure how I want to design that yet, but we'll figure out something.
We definitely need a belt.
I wouldn't be the person to design it. I would tell somebody who can actually draw to design
you
it.
have to be the one designing it.
right.
I will
was
do
the
the
winner?
best stick figure belt you've ever seen.
Who was the winner for last month? Was it Igor?
Kanan. No, Kanan.
It was
Kanan.
Kanan last month.
Kanan.
Yeah, Kanan was
there you
last
go.
month.
Brian's piece was really good.
Yeah, the Brian piece for Memorial Day was like that was.
I actually voted for Marcus that one. I think
I did too, actually.
I think so.
it's okay.
I really,
No
I really
offense,
like
Igor. I mean,
I was gonna say, where's the belt?
Right. All right,
really
let
good
me
piece.
pull this up here so that we have. Listen, can I? Let me see. What if I download it here and then drag it up here? Does that let me actually put it where I want it? That'd be nice. Ah, yes, that worked. I love it when plan comes together.
Victory.
Yeah, I wish I'd thought to do
Yeah,
that
18
before we
reference.
actually. Yep, you saw it. You saw it. All right, so here is the fan piece. This is by Kyle Rodrigues.
Man.
He blew us away with all the colors.
Yeah.
He just like, I'm just gonna do a badass piece and I'm gonna do it in color. What?
That's crazy.
Talk about it, gentlemen.
Dude, her exploding out of the water is like epic.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah,
splash
the water
effect.
details.
Yep.
hmm
Perfect.
It looks right out of a comic, like a
Yeah,
panel.
It
This is
One could call it a
last-
splash piece.
Yeah,
a splash page, yeah.
AKA poster.
This is what a lot of artists that watch us, because this is a podcast for artists, should be thinking about when we put these prompts out.
Yes.
Is like, this is the opportunity to make a portfolio piece. Because if I'm looking at this in the portfolio, I'm giving this a thumbs up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm giving him a job immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we want, right? As an artist,
Yeah.
we want a job. Yeah. This is a gig ready to happen.
Dude, that would be a crazy card too.
Yeah, it would. It really would. Really
That would be
would.
cool if he had like.
So that's you see, you can get a job as a comic book artist already. You can get a job in a trading card game. Yeah, there's 2 areas that you can apply for, and so people should be thinking about this. Take the opportunity to use some of these as portfolio pieces.
Because zooming in more than I want, but
I love the line in
nice.
the line work in this,
details.
because it's pencil, like it's kind of pencil,
Right?
and then like the ink has some texture to it. It's
The
really
style with the face
Yeah.
is really good.
yeah. And this is an artist paying attention too, because the way Zalen's facial structure is, he doesn't have a normal bridge for his nose.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a bad example because
Nope.
I've got big freaking Albanian nose, but he actually paid attention to Zalen's facial structure here in this
forehead,
piece from the profile, right?
and adapted it to
the
his
eyebrow.
style, right? Like, yeah,
And adapted it to his style, absolutely.
super cool.
Love the big
Pull
upper
over.
body, man, just like how he has, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, Zalen's so big.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like
The guy's
captured the
freaking
perfect-
huge.
Good job.
And
on
the shining
Yeah.
on the armor is
Yes.
amazing.
The shine on the armor, he did a great job with the colors on there. This is like arguably like
Nice.
the best piece of Colito that I've seen.
Mhm. Really cool.
And that's counting some of the really great panels that Deborah
Deborah
did
Yeah.
in Yaira 3. Like this is a
Is
really great
Is
piece.
this just a single artist, or
Yeah,
Can you
I
pan
think.
to the name?
Oh no,
'Cause-
looks like he had somebody else color. I'm
Oh,
guessing.
Yeah.
okay.
So,
Okay.
so great job, you guys found like the perfect
You already
match
got a team.
for your
That's a-
style. Yeah,
Y'all
Yeah, it
should
really
do more
fits.
work together.
for sure. Yeah,
Yep.
like
Yeah.
this is really good. I love like the composition of everything. Like you read it
Yep.
perfectly. Everyone's separated. There's
Yep.
a plane difference, which is something that, like talking about my page, I didn't do really well. Is separate the planes. I separated like Zalen and everything, but I was talking about like Kanan's piece where you have more like the more
Yeah,
you
different
add, like,
layers.
just from the
background.
depth.
I got you.
Yeah. He did that with this. Like everything works perfectly. Well, we can complement this the entire day if you guys want.
Yeah,
I'm down for it. Like the expressions,
the motion of it all.
Foreshortening and stuff.
for shortening. Yeah, it's very difficult. Like the
That's not an easy angle
no
to do,
No,
right?
no, no.
Because part of Zalen's body is facing towards us, but even then, it's still at a slight angle. His upper body, though, is twisted, and your eye is following the line of his arm, right? That's about to smack Cleto in the face, which is gonna really suck for Cleto. And Cleto is clearly coming both up out of the water and towards us. So it's just there's so much going on here with the dynamicism.
Yeah, he and in actuality, and Zalen's actually moving away too.
Yeah,
almost like he came out of the water with her. But and you could actually, it's shout out to the artist. You can actually tell that even though, like you said, even though his fist is coming toward her face, he's still receding. He's coming toward us.
Yeah,
because that's how the motions. She kind of set the direction of how he's
the
coming.
cape.
Yeah,
the cape kind of gives it away. He's coming from above. Yeah,
yeah,
because of the motion.
I was talking about like Michelangelo because I wanted to bring this up again. It seems odd, but like the anatomy, especially on him, is very much like a reminiscent of like mannerism, which is like people think that Michelangelo is like Renaissance, but it's actually like towards the end of Renaissance and towards the new movement. So if you check his sketches and everything, and you pay attention to like other Renaissance artists, you're gonna see a difference between like the amount of muscles and the way that muscles are drawn. Like people are more bumpy, you could say. And this kind of reminded me of like the sketches that Michelangelo does, because the characters are like overly muscly, but they're not like they don't seem like overly exaggerated. Right? Like, I don't know if I can explain myself, but everything seems anatomically correct, but there is like kind of almost a cartoony twist to it. And it makes everyone seem big and imposing, and that's what he did for Zalen, which is really, really good. Like
it works really well with the character like Zalen for that to be a kind of a stylistic choice.
Yeah, because sometimes people exaggerate the muscles and it ends up being too much, but you have to be like controlled about it.
You can't do that with every single character, right? Because there are a lot of characters that are meant to be a little more trim. And if you start to do that, then it's like, well, now it doesn't just look like a stylistic choice. It looks like not the character anymore, right? Like if you drew, if you drew Peter, looking like Venom, it wouldn't look like Peter anymore, right? And when I think Venom, to be very clear, I'm not talking like Spider-Man 3 Venom. I'm talking like Marvel vs. Capcom 2, right? Where he looks like a monster, right? When you do that, it no longer looks like the character because they're built. You get a little bit of wiggle room to play with for stylistic reasons, but you still want to adhere within that window of like, okay, there's a certain point where this no longer looks like the character.
Yeah. Well, then I think, man, like when you're doing dynamic characters or powerful characters like this, based on whatever the situation is, and again, shout out to the artist because you guys mentioned his muscles; they look taut. It actually look like they're straining. They're actually like he's actually exerting energy and and exerting power rather than just drawing muscles that, even though they're in the right place, don't show the energy. His look like almost like a person who's standing in the like weightlifter competition. When they flex, everything is like and everything's like
dehydrated.
Intense. Yeah, dehydrated. It's intense. They're putting pressure and really, wear and tear on their muscles just from, flexing harder than they normally would. But it's because you want to see all those different, your lats, your biceps, triceps, deltoids. You want to see all that stuff. And you can tell, like even her, like even, generally, this character isn't built like Yaira, but you can still tell that she's fit.
You still see some muscle, muscle groups going on here. And the part of that is a good, here, I'm going to zoom in because a lot of that now you can actually see it is a choice by the colorist, right? Where you're coloring and shading that in. right?
Exactly.
So that was a good
Because it's
move
not
by the
just line
colorist
work.
to fill that in.
Perfect.
Shout out to
Yeah,
the colorist, too.
Andrew put it perfect. Yeah, because the colorist.
I
did a
learned
great
things
job there.
here. I can't do it myself.
Very
but,
good. Yeah, because
you know, and
the colorist
she's
did
got
the
eyes for
hard work
days here
there.
too. So
Mhm.
I'm digging it.
Very good.
The power is in
I'm
her
proud.
leg.
I'm proud of Andrew. Like, I'm
Yeah, right.
really proud of Andrew.
Igor's proud of me. My
Really
day
good.
is made.
No, because it shows that you understand what you're talking about, right? Like people think about like artists being the ones that like see this type of stuff, but it's not like editors don't have to be artists in that regard, because you can be
Oh, that's good because I'm not.
have an eye. Yeah, you can have an eye for art.
Just shows that intuition. Don't be fooled.
It's really good. Yeah, good job.
Andrew could start doing some promo pieces for you, Igor.
Yeah, I think so. We're gonna have to
There you
pull
go.
everyone in. Like
No.
Caro, Andrew, Caro.
Right,
everyone.
right. See?
Caro could.
Caro too,
Caro can
yeah.
sketch. Caro
Share
Caro
the
can draw.
load, man. Like just
share the load.
Stick
Yeah.
figures.
Kanan
No.
picking up on all my references I'm dropping today. That makes me happy too.
I should have used the voice, right?
Yeah.
You switch your roles. You can switch roles. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're good.
you want me
Next
on that,
time we're gonna be like
you want me
different
to get
types.
over the dialogue. I think it looks right. Kids, that's not how you spell it.
I have one more compliment and one complaint for this piece, if I can get one nitpick.
All right,
in.
let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Yeah, but the other compliment is like I love the wave and the trident going
Mhm.
to the same place. Like this is a smart choice. Yeah, going towards kind of Zalen and kind of closing the piece together.
Yeah.
And my own one complaint, it's obviously a nitpick because the piece is perfect. It doesn't have to actually change anything. But the tangent between the right foot and the leg, kind of like you could have added some
right
negative
here?
space there.
Leg, yeah.
That little negative space.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I see.
too small of a negative space, and the feet and the leg, kind of, because you lose some depth with that. You could have moved the leg just a little bit like this, but
so
that's
maybe
totally a nitpick.
Shift
Yeah.
this that lower part of that leg just a little
Yeah.
bit over this way, so
Mhm.
you got a little more negative space between it and the other
Exactly.
thigh. I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that
you
that's
could
like
also say her other leg too, coming out of his calf.
Mm-hmm.
Here, yeah.
Could be a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, I
Because
thought
that
the same
happens
thing
when
actually.
you cut joints, right? Like if you cut joints,
Yeah.
like, you end up with that.
But other than
What are you
that,
gonna say, Mark?
No, I was just gonna say the what Kanan said. Her the leg coming out of the cow, kind of noticeable there with the negative space.
Mhm.
Yeah, right
I
here.
have one nitpick, just like you.
Oh, look! I opened the doors.
Uh oh. Now everybody else feels comfortable about having it.
No, but it's really a nitpick because it's like from the concept artist type of angle. Just the color of Kalato's skin, it should be a little lighter. That's all, literally.
Oh yeah,
Even though-
she
even
is
though-
definitely more pale.
Yeah.
because she's underwater as well.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a lot of sun, doesn't get a lot of sunlight either.
Mhm.
But
And
that's it.
yeah, but you can complement at the same time. Most of the concept art is very close, so you can see that the person
Yeah.
drawing it and the person coloring it took a very good look at both books, because
Yeah.
like Zalen's armor is not easy to draw, and this person did
No,
a good
it's not.
job.
No,
And
it's
Clay
not.
is not easy to draw.
that's what I told Joe. I said, dude, I was like, is he gonna wear the other outfit for the rest of the time? Because I like that one better than the original.
Honestly, it's not that it's hard. It's the
my
shoulders a little.
Yeah, the shoulders are hard to.
Yeah, that's what, like, when he was doing this, I was trying to figure. I was like, how would those bend up?
Yeah,
Like, is it one piece? Is it plated? You know, it's like, how do you?
it's like World
Yeah.
of Warcraft
Right.
shoulder pad.
Right.
Otherwise, he'd be
Just like this,
Big old
That's
paladin
what it is.
shoulder pads and everything. Yeah.
Exactly.
Lift your shoulder and cut your
Right.
head off.
I'll say if I had one, if everybody had their nitpick.
Oh, I feel terrible now.
Let's say.
No, I would like to see. I don't even know how, like, as vibrant as it is, I would love to see a kind of a universal tone really playing off the sky because it's kind of like a greenish, aquish type color, and it'd be cool if that was like universally kind of on that. It almost even shows kind of like the time of day. But this is like color and stuff, man. Like, I think it would look awesome. But especially like, imagine if it was like a 4 o'clock sky, you got the light shining on her face, and then there's dark shadows as she's coming out of the water, and kind of almost like you remember that Yaira piece where she was standing in the city.
Yeah.
And how the sunset looked and the light was casting on buildings and all that stuff. But yeah, that's just neither here nor there. But yeah.
But that's a good idea. Yeah.
Very dynamic. Like I say, it reminds me of those old Marvel versus cards that you used to get, Magneto versus Wolverine or something like that. It's very well done.
My thing that I would go ahead, Marcos.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, now that you mentioned the green with the color in the background, I just noticed that the 4 colors, the 3 main primary colors are here, and basically there's 4: the red, the green, the yellow on his armor, and the blue.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah.
You got the 4 like a whole wheel of the main colors here. Maybe that's why he did it. He wanted to do the little I don't know.
Yeah, that could be
RGB.
Yeah, in terms of composition, you want to use at least some sort of gray where because it's a lot of vibrant colors because it's comics. That's the way we do things. But like Kanan was mentioning, if you have some unifying color, like the sky usually reflects on the shadows, right? Like your shadow is going to be kind of the color of the sky because it's the light that bounces around and reflects tends to be that color. It's either going to be that or the environment. That's why we usually draw we usually paint blue shadows because that's what the sky looks like. Right? So it's going to reflect everywhere and bounce in your face. But we can get other colors. So to tie everything together, you tend to do a shade of colors over everything.
Kind of with a color balance. I think that's what they call it.
Yeah,
you can go the route of just basically doing base colors and rendering it, but usually it's a cool way to. I think of a book that does that really well is the Oranges book of Wolverine. Wolverine Oranges, the color is just pretty good at conveying emotion and everything through warm and cool colors. So that's a good book to look at if you're a colorist. I don't remember the name of the colorist. Zizanov, I think. I'm not quite sure, but it's a great book to look at. It's 2000 something. Great start down through colors. But really good piece. We're nitpicking, obviously, but yeah.
If you look at it from the color perspective, you got the red contrast in the green with the cape at the top.
Yeah.
And then the blue with the yellow orangey, which they're negative colors to each other. They contrast directly.
Yeah. Complementary colors.
Yeah.
Complementary, yes.
So I think that's why it works, man, because all the complementary, yellow, purple, red, green, all you need is orange. But her skin is kind of a little along those lines, so that ties into the blue. So yeah, I mean, that's why
great piece.
That's why I said my little overtone color balance is a nitpick because it really works as is.
Yeah.
Awesome
great piece.
Pal.
Put in your portfolio, send around. Yeah, gonna get a job.
Yeah, add this to your portfolio for sure.
Yeah.
And hats off to the colorist as well. I'm not entirely certain who did the colors on here. I don't recognize the signature, but great work.
Indeed.
Great work. All right, let's pull up the while we get into our discussion topic before closing out. Let's get the 3 pieces from the gentleman out here. And that way, that would help if I actually put it in the right
coming.
spot.
Oh no!
Oh, you got a storm coming?
Lightning.
Thunder, but we haven't got any rain yet. But I can hear it.
Also hear the chickens.
I'll take it over the chickens. Yeah, that's an improvement of sorts. All right, so I'll share this, and we'll get into our discussion topic. All right, guys, here are your 3 pieces from the gents for this month's prompt, Zalen versus, and a poll will be going up now in the chat. Vote for your favorite, and we'll see who takes the crown, who takes the belt this month. Gentlemen, as for our discussion piece, we're going to take a few minutes to talk character archetypes. Now, as has been mentioned before, just about every character in comics, especially your superhero-focused universes, can be kind of filed under one character archetype or another, right? So you got your street-level badasses, your Batmans, your Punishers, your Daredevils, things like that. Obviously, your Horsemen. For as far as our universe goes, you have your flying tanks, your flying Mack trucks, your Brian Solaris. You have your elementally focused, characters, whether it's fire, whether it's ice. Obviously, Yaira, right? It falls under that category. You have all sorts of different character archetypes, and they're fun to play around with because, especially when you're building out an expanding universe, you get to look at what's been done before, right? And see, well, I like this about this archetype over here from these guys, and I like this about it over here from these guys. What can I do to kind of flip it around, turn it over, look at it differently, approach it from another angle, and do something that is that archetype, but it's a new take on it. It's a new version of it, right? And you see this all over the place. Every comic book universe has something like that. But they're fun to play with. And what are some of y'all's favorite archetypes, whether it's to read, whether it's to draw, and what are ones you would like to see or like to draw or like to design for the Rippaverse?
Ooh, that's a nice question.
Marcos, we'll start with you.
Actually, I was thinking all the way you were saying about descriptions. I was thinking about the underdogs. Usually, because I really like, at least when it comes to stories, watching movies and stuff, I really like the underdogs, the ones that start at one point, reach higher, and also what are they called again? The anti-heroes, the ones that turn a leaf. More specifically, turning the characters that end up turning leaves, because they start at one place and they end in another. Because anti-heroes usually just do whatever they want, They could be good one time, they could be bad the other time, but I prefer that type of like a mixture. Them being at their lowest, maybe they're like a villain. They start off as a villain and they eventually, reason up and become eventually potentially a hero. They switch their mentality and stuff.
So
when I say the
you're
underdog,
probably a Bakugo fan, huh?
A what?
So you're probably a Bakugo fan from My Hero. Have you ever seen My Hero Academia?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, but I haven't seen the.
Yeah, he's the one.
Because I've drawn.
Yeah, he's the one with the exploding fire ability.
Yeah, the one with yeah, maybe. Is he?
Yeah, he's
anti-hero?
An anti-hero. Yeah, he's definitely that. Early on, he could have been a villain, but he wasn't. He was just aggressive.
Yeah, there was a phase like a couple years ago that I before starting to work here at the Rippaverse that I did a bunch of drawings of characters from My Hero Academia. That's why I know a little bit about him, but never really watched it. Sorry, that's a different thing. But yeah, mainly just anti-heroes and underdogs type of thing. Yeah. That's like I like to write those as well. Like I really like making stories where characters have a change of heart, I guess, in that sense. They grow, which I guess everybody could relate to in a way, because we're all kind of the same way. We're different than when we were younger. So kind of general, I guess, but overall, that's like my favorite type of archetype. Now, if you were to ask me between like super strong OP characters that can fly and like the tanks or a street level, I would probably say that I really like the flying strong ones. I'm not gonna lie. I know that they could sometimes be too strong, like Brian or Yaira or stuff like that, but there's something about them that I really like, because I like to, in terms of writing them, I like to really make them go through challenges. Like they're supposed to be strong, but they also have their weaknesses. They got to go through some stuff that helps identify who they are as the character and the archetype that they are. Because otherwise, if you don't, they're just gonna end up looking like Mary Sue's and like unstoppable, boring characters.
Yeah.
I prefer that. It's just that's me, at least.
Okay, right on. Igor, what about you?
I would say like I like the street level characters are some of my favorites. Like I read a lot of Daredevil ever since from like the days of old comics where he was kind of silly and like fighting a bunch of like silly villains, and they weren't really exploring his like as a lawyer or something like that before Frank Miller came in and like kind of reshaped the character to a more darker tone. I kind of like that, like the silly aspect of him, but I think it fits that type of character, like Horseman, Wolverine, even Wolverine at some level, where it's like kind of street level, kind of like I think in Jungian terms is like the Shadow or something like that, where it's a character that has like a counterpart to himself, maybe sometimes, where like there is some darkness to him. I really like that type of stuff because I think it deals with morality in a way that like most characters have to grapple with at some point, right? Like every character has to instill a moral compass to himself in order to be interesting, even if it is like Zalen is basically a moral compass like turned into a character, right? He has like the idea of what he thinks it's wrong,
Right.
and then you're gonna learn more about his past and what he does based on that, right? Everything shaped that idea of what he think is right and wrong, and you're gonna see him go through that. So I like Zalen more than I thought I would because of that, because of the darker tone of some of his actions, which doesn't make him evil. Because I don't like Marcus was talking about like the anti-hero, and I think sometimes people have a misconception of what that is, because he's trying to do good, but the morality is kind of skewed or shaped by the environment, right? Like because I don't think that they are evil and they can do whatever. It's like chaotic neutral or something like that. They are actually good characters that do good through some uncertain means sometimes.
Questionable means.
Yeah, questionable means. Like V for Vendetta, for instance, or something like that. Right? Yeah, I like that type of character. And I also
they might
like
be seen as evil from. Oh, sorry.
No,
they might be seen evil by others, but it's not actually. They're not really trying to do anything with evil intent.
Perfect. Yeah, that's exactly it. The other type of character that I really like is like the creator type of thing, like the Tony Starks, Reed Richards. I like
your inventors.
Yeah, the inventors. Yeah, they don't have to be actual genius of like the Sherlock Holmes type of characters. It's fun to see those go against each other, but I like MacGyver, old MacGyver series. My dad loved to watch that, and I like that silly type of thing where like you're building gadgets or
paperclip gasoline.
Yeah. And then it build like
things.
something.
Make something work with like the most odd, eclectic collection materials.
I think that's one of the smartest kind of twists that you can have. If you think about like 10 years ago, like the Naruto runs and One Piece even, like the fights were not like Dragon Ball Z where the characters were like clashing powers, and One Piece has kind of turned into that. But before it was kind of smart. Like the Naruto is all about that, like outsmarting your opponent, right? Like this is the maneuver that kind of
You're speaking my language.
That kind of got the character is not like about absolute power, but how you use your power against the enemy and how the enemy is weak and at some like point or another, and you exploit that against it. So I like those characters because of that, because it's always a battle of wits. I think it must be. I'm not a writer, but I would have a hard time writing that, and I love reading that. Like, I hate in Naruto when they had to over-explain everything, like they pause and then, like I'm some dumbass that's not gonna understand what just happened. Oh, so he switched the kunai for something else. Like, dude, I got it. It's smart. You don't have to.
I saw it happen. I watched it. I read the panel, guys.
Especially the anime. I think overindulging in that. Like, you always have to stop
that's
and
the pad out
explain.
runtime.
Yeah, exactly. I don't need that part, but the rest is great. Like every battle is like up until the end, right? But at the end, it's not
filler.
Like, but yeah, I like those characters, shadows and creators. Those are my favorite type of characters.
Okay, good choices so far. Kanan.
Well,
you say creepypasta.
No.
Well, yeah, surprised Igor didn't mention monsters of the.
I think it goes into shadows, right? We're talking about heroes.
Okay.
Like, If we're just talking about any character, it's just monsters. Like, make a story about monsters.
All monsters and creatures. No, my archetype, man, it's pretty simple, man. It's the same all the way across the board. And my kids always rag on me because it never changes. It's like, who's your favorite character in DC? Superman. Who's your favorite character in Marvel? Captain America. Who's your favorite character in My Hero Academia? All Might. It's
just like the OP character.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Patriots.
But a very morally centered character.
Yeah. You know, the father figure, the hero. You know,
the real hero. Yeah.
Heart of Gold.
Funny because Brian Solari is more of the Boy Scout. But I like drawing him, and I think it's that same archetype. Like he falls into because he still has a noble cause, he still has a duty. You know, he's still that guy, and so like that archetype is definitely, you know, even the twisted versions, Homelander. Like the those guys are like irredeemable. You know, these are some of the other characters that are like anti Sentry. You know, like it's the same type of character, you know, that I kind of gravitate toward, man. Spartan from the Wildcats. Like it's that hero kind of powerhouse dynamic guy. And I think, you know, Spartan specifically with Superman, he has, you know, a lot of times, you know, that's what's why you have a lot of people that don't necessarily like him because they're like, he's too of a straight line. He's straightforward, you know, kind of know where he stands, yada, yada, yada. But he's that guy that will literally give his entire self to defend somebody, the smallest person, the least. Yeah. You know, his goal is to always try to blend in enough to be normal. Even now, like as dynamic as he is, his favorite days are days off where he just gets to hang with Lois at the Kent estate, you know, farm, you know, just, you know, staring at the sky and, you know, enjoying the, you know, the simple things. I
love that about the character. Someone said once that his secret identity is Superman, right? Like it's not because he's actually Clark Kent, and I think that's and that's something that most directors got wrong in the movies because they focus on the Superman, but he's actually a human that has to deal with his powers, right? Like I think that's about what is great about the character.
That's what goes into my other archetype that I like is the Batman characters because they're night and day. Like you mentioned, Batman is the real Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne is the mask. Batman is who he really is. And I think that's why I love Christopher Nolan's version because he mentioned that when he had Katie Holmes, she was like, you know, Bruce, this is the mask. Who you really are is when you turn into Batman. That's you. And you know, that's the other archetype on like, you know, the shadowy, dark, like Batman type character and how it connects to the hero type. Like you need both. Which is why, you know, he had World's Finest, which is why we have, you know, the Brian Solari and then Isom. You know, he's more street level. You know, that's why we have Horseman and then like, you know, Yaira, you know, or Zalen, you know, the pristine characters. Like like you need those two dichotomies, man, to actually like balance out the universe. And if I had a third archetype, it's the crazy guy, like the Joker, like because he's one of my favorite villains, but he's the most hate. Like I can't stand him, but he's like perfect. And so, you know, when DC did the Batman Who Laughs, I was like, oh my god. I was like, that is like, he's 100% Bruce Wayne and 100% the Joker. I was like, he's the perfect combination of villain. But yeah, those three archetypes, man, like they always stand out, but particularly the hero type. Like I love my Wolverine. You know, I think that comes with kind of being a loner at times. You know, that's kind of his mindset. I always think about one of my favorite things he said in the cartoon, the original cartoon. It was the 1987 one. I think that's when it was, or 92, whatever it was. But
92. I
remember he was like, it was like, come here, and he was like, he popped his calls. He was like, I go where I want to go. You know, it was like that. You know, I always have a place for that type of character, the Wolverines. But yeah, the hero type, man. You know, I love, like I said, All Might. You know, he's always like, you know, plus ultra. You know, beyond. You know, like we give everything 1,000%, man. And you know, and sometimes it's to their detriment. You know, because sometimes they come off gullible. They come off very naive. They come off very easy to manipulate, because their moral compass is so high and they're so optimistic that at times you need the balance of a Batman to bring him back to reality. Like there's a scene in one of the animated movies where Superman was like, I could just move the earth and make everything okay. And Batman was like, there's 1,000 reasons why that won't work, and that's a bad idea. you know, because Superman's just like, well, I'll just move it. Batman's like, well, if you want to destroy gravity and you want to kill everybody on the planet, go for it, Clark. But back to reality. This is what we need to do. So you need, the hero type needs that anti-hero to balance them. Otherwise, you get people who think they're gods. And you know, when a person thinks they're a god, man, you know, there's no stopping them, you know, and at least in their mind. And then they actually become,
that's how you get Homelander.
Yeah, exactly. You become so bent on your task that you become an overlord, and then you become a villain. And they said they live long enough to become a villain. That's what a hero type can. And so that's what I love. Superman is always that he knows how powerful he is. The hero type knows how powerful they are, but they also understand that you need a little darkness, you know, to kind of keep you grounded.
You need balance.
Yeah. And so, yeah.
You sound like you could be a fan of like the Injustice type of storyline with the evil Superman.
I did. I actually enjoyed because I got it. You know, it's like, that's what people understand.
I like it too. Yeah.
He wasn't really crazy. He was just fed up. You know, it's like, and he was like, okay, this is how it's gonna be. But Batman was like, well, you just can't force people, you know. And Superman was like, why not?
Batman, they turned around the roles.
Yeah, they shifted.
Suddenly, Superman is the one in the dark now, and Batman's the one.
Yep.
That's kind of why I liked it too.
Yeah. I like that you brought up Captain America, because he's actually my favorite character from Marvel. Because I think people don't give him enough credit. Most people think that he's like a blind patriot or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think he's much closer to a libertarian than anything else. Like, even within the universe, because obviously the government there is very different from a real world government, because they have to deal with super beings. But I love like Mark Millar's run with Civil War. It's a perfect portrait of him.
Yes.
Where he's willing to do some stuff, but in the individual level, he's not willing to do other stuff, like killing someone and putting like lives at risk. That portrayal in the comics is like perfect for me. Like I was always a fan even though I'm Brazilian.
Yeah.
But I was always a fan of him because I started with Streets of Poison, actually.
I was like, okay,
That's
Streets
a
of
run.
Rage. Okay. Ooh, yeah.
No, Streets of Rage. Streets of Poison in the Streets, or Streets of Poison, something like that. Like, it's a run that he lost his powers. It was super cool to see. Like, super, super cool to see.
Captain Brazil.
He's a Captain Brazil. I think they had one.
So for sure. And they speak Spanish. That's for sure.
I actually agree about Captain America not being the favorite of the MCU.
Oh, nice. All right. So we all agree on something.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, like the personality per se, like even in the movies from the MCU, you could like tell that type of personality that he had. He was always on the good side, especially from the first movie where he would, before he got this power from the serum and stuff. But the doctor said it specifically. He said it so well. Like, good turns great, like evil turns worse.
Yeah.
So they chose him because he chose him because he knew that he had a good heart.
Yeah.
And that's really what hammered down.
And it goes
he's one of the
to
favorite characters.
Kanan, what Kanan was talking about, right? Like about Superman.
The hero, yep.
Yeah.
Uncompromising moral compass, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
That Captain America was always an interesting, which is kind of different than, you know, the current version of Captain America. Steve Rogers came from a different type of wartime where they understood duty, but at the same time they understood that it was messy, gritty. They had to take out people. They had to kill a lot of people. You know, it's like, but at the same time, you're doing it for a cause. And so, even in the current state of, you know, I guess, you know, they kind of branch America into where it is now, into the comic books, at least in the Marvel universe. But it was always interesting to me that his character still holds to those ideals of what America could be. And I think that's somebody said, it said, Captain America, Steve Rogers, is what America, I guess, thinks itself to be. You know? It holds a lot of those ideals. U.S. Agent is how America really is. And then like Sam Wilson is what America wants to aspire to be, kind of thing. You know, so, you know, those are the two different. But that's why I really love Captain America, because he's kind of like, you know, he's again sort of naive, man, but like you guys said, man, he's very grounded and very, for lack of a better term, very simple with kind of what he thinks and how he believes. You know, there's very little gray area with him. It's like
that's why I like
father figure.
Yeah. But I like Silman Senior because of that.
Yep.
Like
same type.
Because I think if you read like Great War and the Ice on Tree, you get a pretty good look at what the character is.
Yep.
And the scenes that he's in, that he's talking to Avery, like you can get a pretty good grasp at what he's seen and what he is and how that shaped him to be a man of duty, and understanding that his son he's trying
like
to
Avery's
shape up to
Ben.
be the same. Yeah. I think so. It's very good.
Good brain. I love the Silman. I especially love Mama and Papa Silman.
Like, me too, man.
I really love
that's in the Ice on
Jacob and
Tree.
Harriet.
It's like top notch.
Yes.
So good. So good. Excellent discussion, guys. Thank you for that. Let's wrap up with some housekeeping real quick. Our current active collections and campaigns that we have going across the Rippaverse and Ripascend are Rippazine 4, which is just over 2,500 books sold now and almost at 50,000 in total sales. We're like, I think just a little under $2,000 as of this recording. So we probably will have crossed it by the time this airs. I believe it's probably going to be on like Monday. So we're recording this on Thursday. It's probably going to air following Monday. So thank you for everybody that supported that. Catch and Kill is a really fun reporting story. Journalistic integrity is involved, and it is really, really well done. The Saskas flexed a different part of the creative brains, and I think they did a great job. This is their first original story and creation within the Rippaverse. Everything else, Eric created Bloodroot. They did a great job with it. Yaira was created by Eric as well. You know, same with Michael and Lillian. But these are their like their babies. Like they created these characters from scratch, and they did a really great job with them. So I think you guys are going to love it. Make sure you check it out and pre-order Ripazine 4 if you haven't already. Saints and Sinners #1. We're a little over, I think, 9,300 books as of recording this, and we're less than 10,000. I think we're like less than 9,000 actually away from 350K, which is crazy. So for our first anthology, thank you so much for everybody that's been supporting that. Ton of fun stories within that with brand new writers, plus Eric and the Saskas. Will Jordan, aka Critical Drinker, is not new to writing, but new writers for the Rippaverse, I should say. Norfolk A Glorious Death is off to a metal start. Already almost at 3,000 books. Already over 110K. Thank you to everybody that's supporting that. Thank you for everybody that's been supporting the single that was done by Eric in a collaboration with Dan Vask. That's been charting between #1 and #2 across iTunes and Amazon. And I don't remember right now where it's charting on the rock and metal charts for just overall Billboard.
Amazon.
We'll find out.
Amazon.
Yeah.
Really
We'll find out. I think it's after today is when those billboards update, and we'll see where it's at with that. So thank you in advance for everybody that's helped support that song. Your response to it has been incredible. There's a ton of reaction videos from, like music reaction channels and things like that I've been seeing. We are putting together we've been it has been glorious. It's you. We've been putting together on the back end a compilation video of y'all's reactions to that. So look forward to that. Thank you to everybody that's been doing those reaction videos, helping spread the word, because that song is clearly a hit.
Yes.
And if it charts on Billboard or Glorious Death #1 hits 300K, Eric and Dan are going to do a full EP.
It's crazy.
Collab. So that's something y'all want. All right. Like, you want that. I want that. So make it happen. Help me make it happen, because I want more of that collaboration, because I think it's phenomenal. And then on the Ripasend side, Golden Patriot is less than $1,000 from $100,000.
Yeah.
Thank you for everybody that's been supporting that. That's about to hit that massive, massive goal. I mean, cracking into the 6 figures is a huge milestone. The vast majority of indie projects, whether it's a pre-order system or a crowdfunded system, the vast majority of them do not crack into 6 figures. So this is huge for Yellow Flash and John Dillard's first book together. So thank you for everybody that's been supporting that. And Death Shroud, which I am a personal fan of, because I love the entire team that was involved, from the pencils to the colors. I'm just like, you could not have gotten a cooler, like, all-star cast to me to work on this book. Chad Larson's book, that's at over 550 books and over 32 grand. So thank you, everybody. It is more than doubled its goal already, and it's still rocking and rolling. Thank you. This is 192 pages, the first 7 chapters of this story. There's a lot of beautiful book to be had in this, guys. Go to Ripasend, check it out if you haven't already. You will not be disappointed, because you got Kanan on interiors in there. You got my boy Vked Marion on interiors in there. You got Andrew Dollhouse on some colors in there. It's almost too much. It's almost too much good, too much cool. So check all those out. Thank you in advance for everybody that's supporting those. Keep your eyes open and your ears up, because we do have a lot more coming at you soon. If you are not already, go to rippaverse.com/members. You get a free copy of the standard issue, standard cover of the Rippazine. Each new Rippazine that comes out, you will be able to redeem 1 free standard copy. You sign up, even for the lowest tier, which is only $5 a month. You'll be able to get Rippazine 4 standard edition for free. You'll be able to get Rippazine 5 standard edition for free whenever that comes out. I don't know when it's coming out, but it's coming at you fast. We're going to be releasing a lot more of those zines in the near future. Free copy is free copy. Free. Who doesn't like $3.99? I like $3.99. I like that price. I'm cheap. I'm not afraid to say it. I'm not as cheap as Alex, but I'm cheap. So thank you, everybody, for supporting the memberships. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share out this stream. We've had great viewership month over month on this, and we appreciate you guys hanging out with us every single month, listening to the insight from the guys and me blabber on, because you're here for the talented people, of which I am not among. As always, I want to thank our fans for all the support that you give us, whether it's on the book side, whether it's when you're in the stream chats, whether it's on this channel or Eric's channel, whether you're, if you're following and retweeting all the guys on their social media, make sure you do that as well, because these guys post art all the time. Do you want to get more art from these talented guys? Go follow them. Make sure you're doing that. Shout out to The Thinkening. Shout out to Velvet Room Publishing. Shout out to RippaGuy. Shout out to Edwin, who's been doing a great job tracking numbers. He's like been tracking numbers that's been blowing away us on the internal side, because we're like, wow, we've sold over 270,000 books since like launching the company.
That's that's Alex's stuff, and we don't care about Alex. So
we don't care about
to hear it from someone else.
The bean counter can chill with his beans. He can play with his beans. It's fine.
I want to give a shout out too. I forgot to give it the last time because I know he watches everything, like the Winter Fox candles. Sent me a cool care package with cool letters. He has a whole character going on, like the candle maker. It's super, super cool. He sent me a candle with I should have it here for the show, but I posted it online with the art from Norfolk that I did for one of the prompts. So he even printed it, super awesome. I can't thank him enough. A shout out to him. It was super cool to get here. A total surprise. Yeah.
Excellent. That's awesome, man. Well, guys, that's all we have for you for this month's episode, except my talents are wasted here. The one talent I have, the prompt for next month, which I want in my email inbox, andrew@rippaverse.com, by July 20th, is going to be Rippaverse Day themed. So this is cracked wide open. Each of the gentlemen have their own prompts specifically that were assigned to them. We'll showcase the time lapses for those here. Rippaverse Day is obviously July 11th. This, we'll record this about, a little over a week after that, but we'll still showcase those pieces. You guys will be able to see the pieces that they did for Rippaverse Day, which I think will be a ton of fun for y'all because the prompts for it look really great. It can be just about anything that's Rippaverse themed. However, it has to be Rippaverse.
Yes.
Let me reiterate that. If you have characters, if you got the Predator in there, you got Spidey in there, as big of a webhead as I am, you got no business here. That's about the easiest possible prompt you could have. So throw together all the Rippaverse characters you want. Do something cool. Do something fun. Do something that challenges yourself as an artist, because that's how we grow. Right? That's how we get better, by challenging ourselves. So do that. I will see those in my inbox by July 20th, and then we'll showcase our favorites. Maybe we'll talk about more than one next month. And we'll do that.
Focus means you talk about the fan arts we get. If there's a lot of them. Depending on.
Maybe we'll remove the discussion. Maybe we'll remove the discussion piece segment next month, and we'll just focus on everybody's fan art if there are enough to justify that.
What better Rippaverse Day than the fans?
We do this for the fans, and we're able to do this because of the fans. So I think that's a fantastic idea. So send them all in. I appreciate you guys. Any final words, final thoughts from you, gentlemen?
Enjoy the progress, keep creating, and keep reading the books, man. The stories are getting better, and we ain't even cracked the surface, man. There's so much stuff on the wing.
There's so much coming. There's so much coming. All right, ladies and jerks. Until next time, God bless and Godspeed.
Peace.
Peace out.